Welcome to Risky Business, a show where we get to explore new and innovative ways to understand and reduce risk by bringing together some of the leading professionals in the transportation and the insurance industry. My name is Scott Grandys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Let's kick it on. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Risky Business. This is probably the favorite part of everything that I do. This is where we get to just kind of spitball things and come up with new ideas and look at the risks that we deal with completely differently. And today, I'm excited about who I have with me here today. For any of you that know who Lloyd's is, Rosie runs the innovation lab at Lloyd's, and we got a lot of cool stuff we're going to talk about today. It's about the future. You know what I mean? This is kind of like the Terminator. So anyways, so Rosie, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely.
And why don't you give us a little bit about what you do? Tell us about the lab and tell us about what you do.
It's a really great question, and I really struggle when people ask me that very question outside of work, because how do you condense what I do to like an audience who isn't really engaged in insurance, and insurance isn't there every day? But I think, basically my everyday looks completely different, and that's why I love my job, and I'm incredibly lucky to be in this position. But at the heart of it, so the Lloyd's lab, which is where I'm situated, I'm actually sitting in the lab at the moment, is a space where we invite insurtechs and companies to come and join us to kind of experiment with the market. So it's a safe space for product development to happen with a sort of continuous feedback loop, where the market really, really drives the product development. And, so I guess with that, I get to deal with and see a lot of insurtechs. And the flagship product, I guess, is our 10-week fast track program, which, Scott, you have been on. And this 10 weeks is really awesome. We invite kind of like 10 to 14 teams to come and actually like move their company to the lab for the 10-week period. We have a physical space, and to really kind of get their hands dirty with the market to really push forward what they're working on. And I mean, you have a great example, Scott. Like, you came with a plan and you really delivered on that plan with the help of the mentors throughout those 10 weeks. You were meeting with them like weekly, daily sometimes. And through that, you were able to build something knowing that you've got like your customer market already interested in your product.
Yeah, it was, for us, and I've said this before, it was an incredible experience. Like, by the way, 2 weeks, version 1, the official launch of version 1 is going out. It's a pretty incredible thing. We went from 0 in February, where we built our prototype, to 1 year later, a whole brand new technology is being built, which may sound like a long period of time, but it is not. And by the way, 10 weeks is not a long period of time either. That was the best and the most exhausting 10 weeks of my life in a long time.
You say
Although we just got a new puppy, that is exhausting.
You turned up looking amazing with this glowing tan, and by the end of the 10 weeks, you had no tan because you were living in Croydon, in London, where the sun doesn't shine. So it was long enough for you to need to go back home and just like find the sunshine again.
I got the sunshine again. Yeah. Now look at this, nice and tan again. It was awesome, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second too. But let's rewind. So the lab has been around for 5 years now, 6 years.
So really exciting. We are going to be celebrating our 5th birthday in September this year. So we've been around for 5 years. 2018 was when we started. Lloyd's has always innovated, and I guess Lloyd's being this huge old marketplace. So Lloyd's was set up over 350 years ago. With that, they've always been a marketplace for insurance. So we have multiple insurers. Today we have over 50 insurers and over 300 brokers operating in the space. And Lloyd's really wanted to try and harness the innovation spirit in a defined space. So we've got this really awesome history where we've managed to bring a number of world firsts to the market, but how could we speed that up, and how could we really create a space that the market could come and experiment. So the lab was an experiment in 2018. No one knew whether it was going to work. No one knew whether, this kind of idea that someone had about creating this space was actually going to be where we are today. And I mean, it's awesome. 5 years on, we've got this brand which, actually resonates across the globe. We've got some amazing alumni which really kind of sing our story. And I think it's been like a real whirlwind of 5 years, but I think also where we can go in the next 5 years is a really cool thought.
And so you guys are about to do cohort 10, right?
Yeah.
Cohort 10. And what's been the average number of companies in each cohort?
So we tend to benchmark at 10. So 10's our minimum. We will accept more than 10 if we feel that it's worth it, and there are some really exceptional teams pitching who deserve a space. So I think the maximum we've had was actually your cohort where we had 14, but yeah, we kind of 10's our sweet spot.
Well, I don't know about you, but I heard a rumor that cohort 8 was the best one ever.
Cohort 8 was a great.
Of course, I heard that rumor in my own head, so that goes about that far. No, but that's cool. So if you think about that, that's 100 to 120 companies over the course of 5 years that you guys accelerated and gave a platform and an opportunity to show the market, one of the largest markets in the world, how you could innovate certain things. And, sitting and listening to the people in the cohort I was in, they're all over the map with, products and services that they're bringing out that I would have never thought about. So to have them specialize in that, in that level of detail is pretty cool. What generally drives, so if somebody was going to come to the lab and they want to participate in the next cohort or the cohort after that, what should they be thinking about? Like, how do they approach the thought process, the application process? What should be at the forefront of their thoughts?
Really great question. And I think I really want to start this with the fact that you don't need to be in insurance. And actually some of our kind of most exciting products have been built from people who have had a background elsewhere, and they felt like there was an insurance application with maybe a great data set or sort of the beginnings or something. And then they've come to the lab and worked with the experts in the insurance market, being the mentors that they are partnered with, who have all had, illustrious careers, some, 30 years in. And through that knowledge sharing have been able to create an insurance product or something for the insurance market. And so I think, we are attached to the insurance market, but you don't need to eat, breathe, and speak insurance to have a home in this place. This place is going to help you in your transition to that kind of eat, sleep, speak insurance. And, you would have remembered from your cohort, there were, probably near on half of the cohort had a totally different background. And that is fantastic because that allows us to bring like the diversity of thought, the diversity of like looking at risk or problems in the insurance market and bringing solutions that insurance people can't create to the market. But if you're looking and thinking about, what should I be kind of considering at the stage, if you've heard about the lab or the Lloyd's lab and you want to have the opportunity to accelerate your product with the market, I think I guess be brave. If you think there is something in what you've got, like reach out to us. We have an email address, lloydslab@lloyds.com. It's always manned by the team and they will always find time to speak to you. And I think be prepared to, I guess, really get involved. So we have just finished scoring near on 200 applications for the next cohort 10. And what we are looking for in that kind of scoring criteria is the fact that you're dedicated to your project or the product that you're working on. Quite a few applications we see, actually, it seems to be like a part-time job. And Scott, you will know, it's a very intense 10 weeks. You can't have another job to be servicing when you come to the lab just because it just wouldn't work. It would probably break someone, and that's not what this is about. This is about coming together and creating something awesome. that the product that you are working on, it doesn't have to be traditional Lloyd's, but there needs to be a home for it in the Lloyd's market somewhere, and there needs to be something new about it. So, if you are looking at offering another version of marine insurance, which is written by, half the market, the lab isn't the place for that, because the lab is the place to experiment and do something new. And program, like the biggest thing for us is, you want to do something in that program. We know that business development and sort of networking is a vital part for anyone's journey. We have other routes for that. The lab isn't that place. It's a byproduct. So when you go through the lab, you will naturally have opportunities to network. But we really want people to really move the dial on their product whilst they are in the lab. So that's kind of like, depending on where you are in your journey, the right time for the lab is very different for a lot of companies. Like, there is not a one size fits all, but you need to be ready to prepare to make that time investment.
Yeah. You know what's funny? And I think I told you this when we were in that cohort 8, best cohort ever. We applied, I think it was to 4 or 5. And we didn't get in. And you know what? Honestly, I don't know how you guys knew it, but you did. We weren't ready for it. It wasn't until we got in this time that we were ready. Because one, it was amazing, but 2, you're right. People need to be prepared that, it's the way I looked at it was an amazing opportunity for 10 weeks to have a captive audience and to say that you're involved in something that the Lloyd's market wants, which is innovation, right? And I think people need to be prepared to take advantage of that, because it's a huge deal. It's like saying, here is a sports car, and not speeding, right? Come on, you got to speed.
But it's a bit like doing a marathon or a huge kind of test of endurance, because people kind of go in not knowing what to expect. You hear it's 10 weeks. Yes, you get a panel of mentors who are your own panel of mentors. And yes, you get the opportunity to sit in the lab. But beyond that, it's really hard to kind of describe what people's journey is going to be like, because everyone's company, everyone's product, everyone's ideas are slightly different. And so everyone's journey is really bespoke, and we don't want to over-engineer it. It's for you guys to really carve out your own journey whilst you're here. But, you kind of go through and, you start all smiles, really excited. People do have fun, don't get me wrong, it's not grueling, and people do enjoy it. But, you kind of go through that sort of middle phase, which is the middle part of a marathon, when you're just like, wow, this is hard, and I've really got to put in like the kind of sort of hours to kind of get through this. And then you come out at the end on demo day and everyone ends on a high, and they're like, oh my God, that was such a great experience. I probably wouldn't want to do another one tomorrow. But if you ask me again in like 6 months, I will definitely sign up again.
Yeah. I wouldn't change a thing. I would even stay in East Croydon again. That was the best part of the journey. Oh, I will never forget that place. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. For me, it was, I think the mentors is a critical component also. I think that guidance, and, for when I was there, I had some amazing mentors that helped to connect me to the market. And, on the innovation side with Chris, he was, he still to this day is guiding me in ways. And so is Albert and Ryan and all that. So the mentors is critical. And, I think the way that you guys put the right people in the right place with the right companies is amazing. I think it works awesome. So I forgot to tell you this. So I get a mug I have different mugs for every podcast I do. So I have a mug for you. I actually had 2. In the first one, I had to order a second one, which I don't think is good as the first one, but I'll tell you what the first one is after I show you what the second one is.
Okay.
So this is your mug. Think outside the box.
Oh, great. I love that.
Right? Now, the first one that didn't get here was funnier. It had, in big, bold letters, it said innovative, and underneath, AF. Innovative is, there you go. That was your first one. So when I come to London, I will bring you the first one, because it didn't make it onto the podcast.
I will be drinking tea out of that for years and years to come. Please don't forget it.
Oh, I will not forget it. But today, we're about thinking outside the box, right? That's what your job is. Your job is thinking outside the box.
It is. And actually, having come from the insurance markets, in my background, I spent 10 years broking in the Lloyd's market. And, I think when you really are in the thick of the marketplace and you are assigned to a product line, so I was doing political risk and credit, structured credit, it's what you do, eat and breathe. And moving out of that and moving into the innovation space has just been like transformation for me, because when you are doing your day job in the Lloyd's market, each day can look quite similar. You've got your clients, and especially as a broker, a risk comes in, you'll go out to the marketplace to try and get the best terms for your client, but that is your kind of working life. Or it's a bit of a conveyor belt. You come into a place like the lab and you're surrounded by amazing people in the Lloyd's market who want to change things up, who want to move the dial. It is all about thinking outside of the box. That there is, I guess, no roadmap. Like, what works, we don't know. We have to experiment, and experiments fail, and that's the way it should be in innovation. And if you're not failing, you're not doing it right. You've got to enjoy the failure, because you learn so much. And it's really cool. You just don't get to do that in a normal insurance job.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it is cool. It's awesome. I think the way that it's all set up and is perfect. And I also, over the years, so I started dealing in the London market 2015, 2016, somewhere in there, trips to London frequently, and kind of running around the market and doing what I did for the 10 weeks I was there has taught me that, when you're here stateside, I think folks sometimes, so I'm going to paint the picture because I like to tell stories, and I like to tell them in a way that people will understand it, right? So, when you think about Lloyd's, 350 years old, right? What do you think about? To me, I think about an old man or old woman, and they're walking with a cane, and, they're just trying to make it through life. And I think people have a misconception of that in the States when it comes to London and Lloyd's. And I think that the lab and the support that the Lloyd's market shows for the lab is incredible. And I think people really, this is why I think it's important to continue to get this message out to the States, is the London market and Lloyd's is not an old man or an old woman walking with a cane. It is very sophisticated. It is very modern. And I think, James Wells, James, he and I were on a podcast, and, I asked him what was the favorite part of his job. And he said the people. And it's the people and the way that you can work with the Lloyd's market and help them to understand that, okay, they may have been looking at something differently for however long, but they listen and they open up and they take chances and they take risks. And this innovation and what the lab does is a huge part of that. And, I think for me, the message I try and get out here in the States is Lloyd's is on top of it, right? I mean, they're doing some cool stuff, and the lab is a living, breathing example of that. I'm a little jealous. I think you have the best job ever.
But that meeting piece is so right. And I like what I love about this job in particular is you just don't know who you're going to meet on any given week. And, you'll turn up to the office thinking that it's going to be, a sort of normal working week. And then there'll be people from governments reaching out, which has happened. And Scott, you've experienced that through the lab. You will have some amazing academics working on something really niche and wanting to work out how to apply it to insurance, really kind of sort of leaders in their field. You'll have awesome InsurTechs who, quit their day jobs, taken the biggest risk of their life to go and work on something that they truly believe in and want to get up and running. You just get to meet everyone in this world of innovation. And, insurance sounds really unsexy to a lot of people, and I totally get it. But insurance is the thing which keeps the world spinning, and everything can be insured. So you can be an expert in anything and still relate back to the insurance market. Like it should feel like it opens doors, not shuts doors when people talk about insurance.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I do this. Because, I'm more focused on wheels risk here in the States right now. It will expand from there. But, when you talk, I say this all the time, when you talk about premiums and deductibles and risk and losses and claims, you could put people to sleep, right? But it actually is a very interesting industry. And, circling back to the Lloyd's market, I absolutely love the interaction. I love the creative thinking. I love the way that you can go out there with an idea and show people that, no, listen, we can put controls around this. We can put innovation around it. We can put technology around it, and we can make it work. And the market listens. I think it's fabulous. Fabulous. So I was going to ask what the favorite part of your job is, but I think you've been telling me the whole time. But let's make it crystal clear. What is the favorite part of your job?
I think it's the people, right? Like the people are the thing, I mean, for me, which kind of make it worthwhile getting out of bed. I have an incredible team who are all really kind of passionate, and I love working with them. And you meet some really incredible people through this, and everyone who works in this space genuinely really cares. I think in a lot of industries, you can find that, fatigue sets in and people kind of lose their passion or kind of can't work out what it is that excites them. But being in this job, you're around people who are excited by what they do every day. And that is such a privilege because everyone's really kind of just G'd up and got a huge amount of energy, and you kind of can feed off that. And, you can feel that what we're doing here actually makes a difference to the people who we interact with, and we can kind of help people along their journeys. And yeah, it's a really unique position to be in.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now over the years and all of the applications and all of the cohorts and all of the people that came through, you have got to have seen some really amazing things. And I'll bet that you saw some stinkers in there too.
Yeah, loads of average, hey?
So tell me what, besides us, of course, because I already know that we're awesome. No, I'm just kidding. What do you think has been the most unique thing that you have seen come through the lab?
I mean, I'm going to be turning this around and asking you a question after this because your story is really important as well, but I don't want to tell your story for you. But I think it's the personal stories which come through. We had in a cohort prior to yours, a couple who had gone through a journey with IVF, in vitro, like fertilization or fertility treatments. And they're based in the UK, and they really struggled with that journey. They didn't realize how financially draining it was going to be on their resources, like the emotional lows basically rather than highs. And they went through that and was just like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. This has been a horrible experience. And so quit their day jobs, created a finance platform. And through this finance platform, individuals going through IVF can get pre-agreed a certain amount of rounds for their sort of IVF fertility treatments. But, with that, they had been super clever because they'd created this huge data set. They got all the available data around and was able to kind of translate it into, kind of bite-sized chunks that they could feed back to their clients. So one example is, if you have a failed IVF treatment, the emotional response is to move like clinics, right? Like you've had a bad experience. Why would you stay? This is one of the most important things like, some people go through. But actually the data shows if you stay with the same clinic, you're more likely to have a successful birth. But, the emotional response is totally different. So they could kind of tease out all these like translatable sound bites and feed them back. When they were in the lab, they didn't have any insurance experience, built an insurance product, which then enabled anyone going through this sort of IVF journey using their platform to have recourse for all of the money that they've spent on IVF rounds if they didn't have a baby at the end. So, a live birth, and any mental health costs that they needed to kind of go to spend after going through what can be a really emotional journey. So it's such a human product. And why I love it is because it just doesn't really kind of match the Lloyd's kind of brand. Lloyd's is very commercial focused. It's very much about big business, but actually we can make an impact on individuals and their own lives through what we do in the lab because of the people who interact with the lab and want to make these kind of changes. So I think for me, that is just such an unique story and really demonstrates the value of the people who, mentor the lab teams, because they will go like that extra mile to make sure your product gets off the ground and gets written through Lloyd's.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a cool story.
So anyway, what did you do in the lab, hey Scott? How did you use your techniques?
Yeah, it was incredible. I had this vision of building the technology that we built as far back as probably 20 years ago. Anytime I enter something new, I kind of, my story is it's like jumping into the pool. I just jump into the deep end and I cover myself with the water and I try and understand everything I need to understand about where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're getting there. And about 20 years ago, it was my first peek into the trucking industry. And I saw that the data that a trucking company in particular needs to plug into is kind of all over the map. That there are different websites or in different spaces. The government has it in different spaces and different websites. And then there are things that the insurance industry looks at and that are important, but the trucking companies can't see it. And it's everywhere. And I made a statement 20 years ago that we need to bring it all together. And so, the lab was a time in the company's history, in my career, where kind of all the roads crossed at the right time. We had the resources. We had been around the block long enough. I'd been in the industry long enough to see that, we needed to do this finally. And that's what we did. We created a platform that creates transparency. It brings all of that disparate information together. Version 1 is amazing. What we have planned for the rest of the year it's off the charts. It's literally taken a life of its own now. And we're gonna end up building something that goes from transparency and monitoring to predictive analytics. So imagine, just like the story you told, all the technology is great. I love what we do. I'm glad we're building it. It's cool. The market loves it. It's going to make money. But the most important thing to me is, we looked at just recently, we're now in the process of analyzing crash and claims data and cross-referencing that. And over the last 5 years, amongst all motor truck fleets in the country, there were 28,000 fatalities. So the most important thing to me, so imagine that. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are when there's a fatality, how many people it affects, but you're not talking about 28,000 people. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that have been affected by unsafe driving on the roads. So what drives me, pun intended, I guess, is that what we're building hopefully will take that 28,000 and continue to just drive that number down. Yeah. Because it teaches people the right path. So all of the glitz and the glamour and the podcast and the sunglasses and the hats and the shirts, it's all cool, but it's, the lab gave me an opportunity to take something that was in my head for 20 years. And I'm hoping that the impact of that will affect hundreds of thousands of lives, because it will stop people from getting killed on the road by big rigs. So yeah, that was our journey. That was it. It was awesome. It was awesome.
But your journey hasn't ended, right? Because you're still talking to loads of insurers who are really hyped up about the product.
Oh my God. It's so I think I told you this the last time I saw you out there. I now do week and a half at a clip, and I come out that this is the longest stretch I've gone since last year, February or April or March, that I haven't been out there just because of the holidays. But yeah, I can't even see everybody I need to see in 10 days anymore. I really, this is the last trip I got to start going for 2 weeks, because it's incredible. It's incredible. And I'll tell you, I said this in the interview that you guys had in the last newsletter. People should really take advantage of what the lab has to offer, for sure. I mean, it was great for me. It was great for our business and helping us to stay focused and move ahead. But it was also good for me personally, because, you sometimes need a snap to get you out of the rut of what you do every single day and into something new. And I think this is it. But yeah, I see a lot of people when I'm out there, a lot. You know what's funny? So when I was there for the lab, yeah, I was running, you saw me every day. I'm in and out, running around the market. and I lost a lot of weight because I was walking like 4, 5, 6 miles a day on average. Yeah, that's all come back.
As is your
back home. Well, what I did is I bought a standing desk now because I'm like, okay, I got to at least be on my feet. But yeah, no, the lab was cool. It's awesome. You know, what you guys do is amazing. I love it. I'll support it in any way I can. I talk about the lab all the time. I encourage people, if they have an idea, they should, you know, if it doesn't stick, then it doesn't stick, but you got to try. And I think one of the biggest things that you said during this conversation is to be brave, right? And I think that's what people have to do. And I think, you know, that was one of the personal lessons that came out of this is you can be safe. You know, you can run a business and make money and do the things you've got to do, but to make a difference and to disrupt and to change, you got to be brave. I think that's my biggest takeaway out of this conversation. You can't be afraid. It's not failure. It's never failure. It may not work sometimes, but whatever. It is what it is. Well, all right. Well, this was good. I love it. I always love talking to you. It's good stuff. So, all right, let's think. We're going to do like a little, what was his name? Springer, Jerry Springer.
Ooh, I mean, Jerry Springer is a name I haven't heard for years, but okay, wow. Where are we going to go with this Jerry Springer thing?
Well, he always had his parting thoughts. So, okay, now you have to do it very monotone and you have to look into the camera and you have to be like, okay, here are my thoughts for the day. All right. So listen, we're going to get this out there. People are going to listen to it. If you have to say anything to anybody and you want to leave them with one thing to think about after they're done listening to this, what would it be?
I think the fact that insurance can be sorry, I need to do it, Monte. Insurance isn't always as boring as it sounds. We can actually have a lot of fun in insurance, and so yeah, I guess keep an open mind about insurance, and I think just think about what you're doing. And I guess this is more of a specific message to companies who are looking to change or pivot. But always consider insurance and whether there is an application for insurance, especially if you have an amazing data set. You know, you can build an insurance product off the back of that, and the lab is the place to come and do it. Like, and just pick up the phone. I mean, send an email, because that's the world we operate in. Lloyd's lab at lloyds.com, and you know, we would be really happy to answer any questions and show you around the lab if you're based in the UK.
Awesome. Well, I echo that. If people are even remotely thinking that they have something that could change not just insurance but life, they should get in touch with you guys for sure. It is a great experience. And stay in East Croydon. I highly recommend that. I'll give you the Airbnb guy. He's got a great place. Well, listen, Rosie, thank you as always. It's been an amazing journey that I've had with you here so far. In the lab, and since the lab, I have a feeling it's just going to continue. You know, I'm here to support anything that you guys do. I will sing like a bird because it was awesome for us, and I think what you guys are doing is amazing.
Thanks, Scott.
So thanks for being on today. I will see you in a few weeks.
Absolutely, can't wait, and thank you so much for having me today. It's been awesome. And you know, like, we're here because of guys and people like you. Our alumni is everything. And our sort of lab alumni. And so thank you for sort of singing our songs and being awesome, I guess.
Well, thank you. Anything I can do to help, I'm here.
Cheers. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Be well. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed our show today. Remember, when it comes to creativity and innovation, I always like to quote one of my favorite lines out of the movie Tommy Boy. If you ain't growing, you're dying. There ain't no third direction. My name's Scott Grandys. I'll see you on the next show. Peace.